Tech News Weekly is sponsored by Hover.com. Domain names made simple. Go to gfq.hover.com and get 10% off your entire purchase. And by Stitcher Radio. Listen on the go via the Stitcher mobile app. For more information, go to stitcher.com/GFQ.
Starting Tech News Weekly in 3, 2, 1.
Everybody, welcome to Tech News Weekly. It's October 19th, 2012. I'm Andrew Zarian. I'm joined by John, also known as Suncast, also known as, some people may I don't want to say it. It's a family-friendly show. How you doing, John?
There's a lot of names people call me.
Yeah, I was going to run down all of them, but I'm trying to stay clean on this show. How you doing, John?
Doing good. Yourself?
Good. And I believe for the first time on this show, I believe Brian's been on with us in the past for other things, but Brian Monroe is here with us as well. Hey, how you doing, Brian?
Howdy.
First time on TNW, right?
Yes, absolutely correct.
But you've been on GFQ before.
Yes, I've been on your show. I've been on the one you did with Kieran, right? The morning show.
Yes.
I've basically kind of made the rounds for most of your shows. I'm going to say,
except for the tech shows. That's the only ones you haven't been on.
Well, which is very interesting because I'm a technical person, anyways. But I've kind of been more interested in the other kind of things you're doing. But this is a good show too. So
Brian M. Monroe on Twitter. You could
Correct.
also you also do LTK, the live tech keynotes with Joe DeMax every time there's an Apple event, which you're going to be doing next week, I'm assuming, right?
on Tuesday, that's correct. Thank you for the plug.
Tuesday.
Yes, we will be doing it, covering what Apple may or may not announce. As I like to say, it's always kind of a fun time because when they put stuff out there, then we get to really dig in deep into it and figure exactly what it's going to do to change the industry, depending upon what products they put out. So,
which we're going to get to later on. I know we have a lot to talk about Apple. We have a lot to talk about
No, we don't.
with Microsoft. No, I know, no Apple news today, guys. Forget nothing. But I do want to start off by talking about the Softbank possible acquisition of Sprint.
Possible, they did it.
Well, yeah, now it's done. Yeah, you're right. Softbank to pay $20 billion for 70% stake in Sprint. This is fascinating because the last couple of weeks, these mergers and purchases with the telcos, with the phone companies, the wireless phone companies here, the carriers. There you go. That's the word I was looking for. In the United States, has been fascinating because we saw about a year ago, it started rumbling about the AT&T and T-Mobile merger, which that fell apart early on in the year. Then we heard...
That was a disaster for T-Mobile.
It was. John, you know, you're a little low. If you want to pot yourself up a little bit.
I'm same level I'm normally am.
Yeah, I don't know. You're coming in a little low.
That's all you.
Oh, there we go. I got you up. So we saw that fall apart, and it was just an awful, awful thing. And I think a lot of people were happy. A lot of people were disappointed. Then we heard the news that T-Mobile and MetroPCS would be merging. This was about 2 weeks ago. And then we heard rumors that Sprint is interested in MetroPCS. Then we heard Sprint is interested in T-Mobile. And now we kind of understand what's happening. SoftBank to pay $20 billion for 70% of Sprint. What do you guys make of this? I'll go to John first.
This is really interesting because Sprint is the number 3 carrier, which is bigger than T-Mobile. And a lot of people say that it might be better than T-Mobile, but quite frankly, I think Sprint and T-Mobile, in terms of just overall perception, is pretty much tied. But I think this is a good thing because Sprint has pretty much struggled for the past couple of years. So for them to actually get this cash infusion, they can finally start rolling out more of their LTE, which I think that's the big thing now is LTE. And people have to get these networks developed because, of course, Verizon and AT&T have such a big head start on Sprint and T-Mobile. Sprint has, I think, about 21 LTE markets right now, but that's still nothing, especially compared to Verizon, which has over 400 by the time the year ends.
Yeah, it's fascinating, and I'm going to get to Brian, but
Sure.
The fact that Sprint has been, I mean, for years, and we spoke about this last week on Tech News Weekly, that we'll go in the early 2000s, Sprint, I think it was Sprint PCS, right? PCI? What was it? Do you remember the name for Sprint's mobile carrier first?
No.
I don't. That's a good question. I'd look it up.
I think it was like Sprint PCS. I forgot what it was. Something like that. Before they merged with Nextel, they were doomed. I mean, people were saying this company's done. They're finished. There's no hope. And they merged with Nextel, and it gave them, an extended lifespan. But it's we need a third carrier, and we need a fourth, and we need a fifth in this country.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the problem.
One of the points I want to make about the Sprint thing in relation to Nextel, that was kind of best history stuff, but Nextel did a really good job of getting out there in the business community with their push-to-talk kind of thing. That was really a big push. And they actually had Nextel phone way back when, an I-90C phone. And, I remember I had a problem on it. It was on a Friday, and I couldn't get it serviced until Monday. And it was bad because their whole entire sales and support approach for Nextel originally was a business approach anyway. So that's what Sprint picked up those business customers, at least they were hoping to at that time anyways. And right now, of course, this is an interesting merger now getting together with Sprint with the Softbank, because of course now Softbank is in Japan, is known as a good carrier over there, as being very kind of scrappy upstart kind of carrier. So I think it's actually going to work out well for them, honestly.
For Sprint,
because actually, as it turns out, and if I may, the thing was the CEO I was reading a story just the other day about this. It's really fascinating that NTT Docomo, a lot of people in the United States may have heard of them before, I would hope anyways, because they're like the big carrier in Japan, and they're kind of known to have cutting edge phones and technology in Japan. And now what we found out is that they were actually kind of in bed with the Japanese government, and the government basically wouldn't let SoftBank in to actually be a competitor. The CEO apparently, I read the story, interesting enough, went into the office of the government that takes care of the telecom stuff, whatever, and basically came in with a gas can and actually said, damn it, either you're going to listen to what I'm saying or I'm lighting myself on fire, basically.
Oh my God.
So this guy apparently is very aggressive in almost a Steve Jobsy kind of way to say that he's going to get his way about getting the things he wants done. Now, I don't think he's going to pull that kind of stunt again, but it's just kind of showing you how kind of crazy things are when you have markets that are closed down when there is a need for something to be open. It's just not there anyways.
It's not there. Another fascinating move that Sprint made this week was that they're taking control of Clearwire after increasing stake to 50.8%. So they have the majority shares in Clearwire, and for people who don't know what Clearwire is, it's a wireless, LTE company. They do wireless 4G. They do hotspots, wireless 4G, and this is increasing, I guess, their presence with LTE,
which makes perfect sense because SoftBank also does a lot of business with Clearwire. They actually have some of their LTE network is provided by Clearwire.
Yeah, and I mean, what happens is now that they have more control of it, they get more control over the spectrum that Clearwire has, so they're able to do certain things that they normally weren't before because they weren't a majority shareholder. This is interesting because these companies, I mean, we've spoken about Verizon and AT&T for so long, and we've said, those are the two that are going to kind of survive. It really seems like there's a third and fourth party now in this country.
But I think that's initially because I think the perception is everything right now. But we won't actually see anything pan out for probably another 2 years with either of these companies.
Do you think that's long enough for them to survive, or do you think they could possibly collapse prior to that?
I think they could survive. I mean, obviously, I think this is going to be a quicker turnaround for Sprint because they already have their LTE stuff going and they already have a relationship with Clearwire. Whereas the whole thing with T-Mobile and MetroPCS is that they actually have to move existing customers from MetroPCS's spectrum over to T-Mobile's GSM network and then refarm their network. Sprint doesn't necessarily have to refarm their network in order to utilize more LTE markets.
Talking about MetroPCS, their shareholders are suing over the T-Mobile merger. They're not really happy, the MetroPCS shareholders, and they're calling it drastically undervalued. The deal was drastically undervalued in their opinion, and they came in that MetroPCS board is it's a conflict of serving in their own financial interests. So this is fascinating that they're getting upset. But here's the thing. If MetroPCS didn't merge with them, and I find this a really strange merger out of all of them. Like you said, there's two separate types of services. One is GSM, one is CDMA. Mm-hmm. So how are they going to coexist? Which one are they going to abandon? I'm assuming they're going to abandon GSM and go to LTE. But what do you do?
One of the things, Andrew, you're forgetting about is the fact that a lot of this comes down to a question of, I mean, I believe anyways, a lot of this comes down to a question of spectrum auctions and more so almost like the patent wars, basically, we're dealing with now. It's kind of like you're staking your claim for the future here because of the fact that you're getting into these companies that it's also it's also the customer base too. But as things go, people usually have these 1 and 2 year contracts, we say. So customers don't really churn that quickly. MetroPCS and they're a little different because they really don't do the contracts. They're famous for being called ghetto PCS anyways, because the fact that they would get like these $40 or $30, $20 kind of non-contract deals. You pay month to month kind of deal. So I'm not sure exactly how that's going to work out with T-Mobile because they're basically more of a contracty kind of company anyways. But I think it's more about the spectrum more than anything else at this point. That's my take on it.
I mean, these are both companies that are not doing too well in this market, John. What do you make of this merger? Who do you think is going to benefit, and should the shareholders for MetroPCS be upset at this?
This is a very interesting deal because, in a way, it's almost a reverse merger where there's this agreement to merge. However, it looks like MetroPCS is end up going to be having the majority stake in this.
But they're the smaller company.
Yeah. Or no, wait. They're gonna MetroPCS is actually gonna end up operating T-Mobile, where Dutch Telecom will still remain with like a 74% stake in the company.
I think what they're doing is Deutsche Telekom is kind of washing their hands of T-Mobile, and they're saying, okay, listen, we'll finance this and we'll still be involved in it, but we don't want anything to do with the actual day-to-day operations of this company. This is very similar in a way, and I'm sure I'll get an email telling me, no, it's not, but in my opinion, this is almost like the Sirius XM merger, where Sirius was a much smaller company. They were doing far worse than XM. They merged, but it became Sirius. XM kind of went away, but it was two separate technologies, and they had to operate both spectrum, let's call it spectrum, both spectrums, to keep the customer base happy. They couldn't abandon one. So it ended up costing the company far more than running one company. They actually they combined a company and ran it twice. And I fear that this is what's going to happen with T-Mobile and MetroPCS, and it's going to hemorrhage money for years.
I don't know about 4 years. I mean, the whole plan that they have set out right now is that over the next 2 years, they're going to take everybody that's on MetroPCS and change them over to T-Mobile customers on the GSM network. And then once they do that, they're going to have all this spectrum that MetroPCS used for their network, for their voice network, and make that the new LTE network for T-Mobile.
Listen, why can't we start our own phone company?
Because it costs a lot of money.
Yeah, GFQ. No. We'll just do like really cheap, like flip knockoffs. Like we'll just do, we'll start small. We're in Queens. Nobody expects much.
But Andrew, honestly, that's where MetroPCS did start out small. I mean, I remember them years ago here in the Bay Area, where people who would get those phones, they just needed to be, let's say, be here in the Bay Area. Maybe there's a place in Texas I think they may have had coverage, and maybe 1 or 2 other small markets or other markets to say. And it was something where it was just kind of like, okay, if you just needed to have carrier coverage here, that's fine. But I remember looking at them going, but I want to go to Vegas, Yeah. And this is not going to work in Vegas. And I was thinking, well, maybe if they have to roam or something like that, they have to deal with roaming fees. And it's like, you just don't want to deal with that,
Yeah. The biggest problem here in New York City is that T-Mobile and Sprint and MetroPCS, because it's piggybacking off of Sprint for their service. That's fascinating too. What are they going to do in MetroPCS? Because they're using Sprint's towers.
Well, they won't be once they switch over to T-Mobile.
Yeah, that's gonna be. It's interesting.
I'm sure there's stuff in the contract other way that between all these companies as to how they would handle these things if they roll out. Of course, if there are mergers and everything else. Of course.
So with Sprint, I mean, there's it's awful service where I am. T-Mobile as well. So you're really left with the big two. But they're going to be able to cover more ground now with, MetroPCS.
They're going to be able to roll out an LTE network.
Yeah.
That's what they're going to be able to do.
Yeah, that's what they have to do.
And we all understand, hopefully understand this is all about data. Really, ultimately, the point is this gets to the point not about phone calls, but it gets to a point of where people want to have access to data. All these smartphones that are getting rolled out, they're consuming larger and larger amounts of data. So, we need to have the spectrum available, and that's why these companies are going to merge and figure themselves out. However, talking to these companies being able to stick around. I mean, the fact is, if these were traditional companies that weren't in regulated markets, yeah, I'd be concerned. But the fact is, like you say, we can't just flip a switch on and turn on GFQ, cell data network. Let's say, you have to actually go out and either get towers or have to rent space in towers or not. Yeah, it's a whole entire thing. So it's not like there's just they can stick around for a while to go. Even if they're doing badly, let's say they'll stick around, kind of stuff. So.
Yeah.
This is going to be really interesting for Sprint because I talked to one of the managers at a Sprint store about a month or two ago. And he was telling me about how all their plans that they have to do with their towers and how they're going to do different antennas and why their rollout for their new LTE network is going to be so much better than everybody else's. But now how does that change now that they're going to be owned by Softbank? And their CEO has been saying that he's really unhappy with the speed of the data networks here compared to Japan. So
yes,
is he going to take all those plans that Sprint previously had for an LTE rollout and change them for the better, make them faster?
Was it now Sprint? I thought was the one that was doing the other, not the WiMAX. Weren't they doing the WiMAX network, right?
They were doing WiMAX. I'm not too sure anymore.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's the other thing I read in an article I was reading a little bit ago about when I'm talking to the CEO guy. It's the same thing you read, Suncast, which is the fact that, yeah, he's definitely not happy about the rollout speeds, and he realizes that they have an opportunity if they can be able to leverage the spectrum they're getting and get things kind of together with the best technology. They could potentially best people like AT&T and Verizon potentially, if they have the right technology, So
talking about technology, I want to get to something that Brian is very excited about.
Oh, yes.
I think, I know this is going to be a in-depth discussion because there's so much happening with this, but Apple announces a special event for October 23rd. This is the expected, anticipated iPad mini unveiling. We're still assuming. I mean, we don't know yet. It cannot be that at all, which if it's not, it's going to be an utter disappointment for many people.
What? It's not an iPhone 5? You're
no.
calling it the 4S?
Yeah. Yeah, no, well, I think what'll happen with that, I think it'll be far worse because, they're going to unveil some other stuff. They're going to talk about the Mac Mini. They're going to probably unveil a 13-inch Retina displayed MacBook Pro.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember what else, but the iPad Mini is the star of this show.
Right.
I'm not too crazy about it. I have no interest in an iPad Mini at all. I understand some people are interested in it, but for me, I'm not interested in it at all. And the pricing that we have seen for this device, it's $250. Those are the rumors, $250 to $300. I think it's going to be $300. $250. I don't know how they're going to push this in between their iPod Touch and whatever comes next, because the iPod Touch now is $200. So you're paying a lot of money for this. No, it's $300. No, how much? $299. No, it's $199. $199. What am I saying? How much is it? God, I forgot.
$299. They raised it by $100.
Yes, $299. They raised it by $100. So it's $300. Yeah. How could this device be $240 or $249?
Well, that's just it. If they're gonna sell an iPod Touch for $300, what's the point of selling an iPod Touch when you can just get an iPad Mini?
Yeah, Brian, what do you think?
Okay, so here's my take on it. I mean, it's about market segments and what people actually use these devices for. If you go from the iPod line, it's primarily a music playback kind of device, right? And then you actually have some other abilities in these devices too. But that's kind of where they're starting from this. This here, what they're looking at, my understanding, is going to be something more relating to textbooks and more about the ability to actually kind of the Kindle kind of market, where you're actually kind of consuming media to read stuff, but not necessarily creating per se on this device. I mean, yeah, of course, we all know there's going to be people out there who are going to take these things. If they have a camera on the dang thing, they're going to hold them up just like you hold up an iPad up to, they can take pictures and everything else. But
yeah?
what? But 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 the fact is that ultimately it's going to be something that's a lot more portable than the iPad. Which I mean, iPad is more portable than a laptop, but you kind of like still the issue is still it's heavy-ish. You do get 10 hours battery life from the deal, but it's not something that's it's easy to kind of tote and go with those kind of situations where you want to be on the go, but not really want to bring a device that's you can't really put in your pocket kind of thing, and you don't want to have to actually carry it in a bag kind of
But
thing.
let me ask you this. Now, let me ask you with the pricing structure for $249. If this thing is $249, it's going to be a huge seller.
Oh
huge.
yeah. Well, okay. This is the $249 price. I'm going to mention about that. Okay, if you can get the Nexus 7 for $199 and same with the Kindle device also right for $199 also right,
Yeah.
So they have those both available at that price. You figure $50 more for the Apple experience. You get all your Apple stuff there going. Plus, we assume it's going to have AirPlay and all the other goodness and everything else that you get with the Apple ecosystem. It's a good seller, and no question about it. For Christmas, it would be great Christmas gifts for people as stocking stuffer, and I could definitely see that being really just be assuming they can sell enough of them. Of course, that's always Apple's problem. Of course, I'm making enough of them to say anyways. That yeah, I mean it should do well. I mean
Yeah, I mean for $249, $399, I'm not too sure how well it will do. $399. I'm sure they're going to sell a lot of them, but I have a serious problem with that pricing. Some of the other things that they're talking about on this device, it's probably going to have an 8 gig hard drive.
Hard drive.
8 gig solid state storage. Yeah, I don't know why. You know why I'm reading hard drive on a 9-to-5 Mac right now, so I'm just I don't know why I went there. So it's probably going to have 8 gigs of storage compared to 16 gigs. It's going to be smaller in storage. I don't know if they're going to go Retina on this thing. They may not. They may not go with a Retina display. They may not add 4G on this thing. They're going to have to cut corners to bring the price down.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree with you at that price point where the entry level 8 gig, they're saying entry level 8 gig with Wi-Fi only. At that price point, I still think it's going to have Retina though, honestly, because I don't see them not doing that. It just feels like they've already kind of corrected that Retina nut basically, and it's kind of good to go for there. But it just seems like it's going to be just fit right in there where it's going to be something that's going to work for people that would maybe looking at the Nexus 7 or looking at the Amazon Kindle device, and they'll look at this and go, okay, well, I've already got all my Apple stuff, so I'm good to go here, and so
something else that they're gonna announce, and I think this is gonna be a big seller, a 13-inch Retina displayed MacBook Pro.
Yes.
And the rumors are that it's gonna start at $1,700.
I'll say again, I want to talk about this here too. Ultimately, the 15-inch, even though you think, well, 15, 13, not a big deal, size-wise, I've just always liked 13-inch laptops.
I can't use a 15-inch. It's too big for me.
And again, and maybe it's because I've been so conditioned by actually working on people who have these 15 or 17-inch PC laptops, with the big, massive power bricks you have with them to drive the screens and the fact they're really luggable and everything. I just want something that's kind of the same size as the keyboard that flips open kind of stuff. You don't want extra. I don't like a lot of extra bezel around the base of my computer kind of thing. And that's why I find those really work nice. It's also just feel like they just feel better and just the way they feel and everything. So
I think, in my opinion, if you're interested in buying this, I would wait a year till the prices come down, because they're not going to keep this pricing forever on this device. They're going to add Retina and everything, and it's probably going to be, the base model. Everything's going to be a Retina display. You're paying a premium now just so you could become an early adopter of it.
Well, I mean, I'm not sure exactly about Apple reducing prices on stuff. I think that's always been more of a PC thing than Apple kind of thing or Windows thing,
No, but no. What I'm saying is it's nutty that they have the entry 13-inch MacBook Pro.
Right.
And then they have a Retina displayed MacBook Pro. The MacBook Pro, eventually, that entry-level MacBook Pro is going to go away, and this is going to be it.
Right. Okay. So now I actually understand exactly what Apple does about these things here. Okay. Because I read an article about this the other day, and it really made sense. This is the deal. So why Apple keeps, let's say, an iPad 2 and an iPad 3 production line going is what they'll do is they'll introduce a new technology, and it'll be the iPad 3 with Retina and the other stuff. And they'll keep the 2 going because the line's already going. If they feel like they're doing too much of a gamble on the 3, they're going to basically make sure the 2's there so people can keep on buying it, so that if they have to go backwards and backtrack, for example, and do something like that. It's kind of the same thing true with the 15-inch Retina MacBook Pro right now, which is kind of a gamble because they did some certain things in there that people weren't sure if they were going to like or not like. And so they're going to keep on doing the 15-inch MacBook Pro without the Retina, and the same way they're going to keep on doing, I believe, the 13-inch MacBook Pro without Retina, basically, let's say, so that they kind of hedge their bets, because they have to basically kind of a fallback plan in case people aren't happy with the current new thing.
John, do you think it's too much redundancy in their lineup?
I don't know if it's redundancy. To me, what it comes down to is price. The fact that they're going to add on $100 or $200 onto the device just for a Retina display.
$300 more.
And to me, that to me almost is pretty much a deal breaker unless I have a lot of money to spend. But if I'm trying to be budget conscious, there's no way I'm spending an extra $300 just for a Retina display.
I mean, I guess what they're doing now, because that line between the MacBook Pro and the MacBook kind of got blurred for a while. And they eliminated the Mac, and because you had the Air, you had the Mac, and then you had the MacBook Pro. They've eliminated the Mac, so now they have the Air and the MacBook Pro. So what they're probably going to say is like, listen, this is going to be the expensive model again, and if you want to get into an entry model Mac, you get a Mac Air.
Exactly. I mean, I 100% agree with you, Andrew. That's definitely what they're doing. They're definitely keeping the Pro line definitely going to be Retina. I see that. Definitely agree with you about that, and they'll actually go with the Air if you don't want the, if you're basically more in the entry level. And it really makes sense because I saw the customer base, the people I support as an IT consultant, people I see who buy the Air are people that are more on the entry level side of stuff who don't really need demanding application stuff, and they keep the Pro line and stuff for people. And I will tell you this, they're not, the people I deal with on the Pro line and stuff, they're not budget conscious people. They will pay whatever it costs to get the best thing they can get. They don't care. I mean, no, it's not that they don't care. It's a question they're going to buy the best value for their dollar. I mean, the fact they are aware of the fact that they're going to get this Pro line MacBook Air, let's say Pro Retina, MacBook, and it's going to work great for them. They're buying into some future technologies with SSDs and everything else. They don't care about upgradability because they're not the kind of people that are going to sit there and open their computers up and use it like a kit.
They're using it for a couple of years and getting something new, pretty much.
And they have enough money. They buy new cars practically every couple of years anyways. So this is nothing to them.
We're all living like the Rockefellers and the Kennedys.
You know who you're talking about, though, right?
I'm talking. I live. You're where I live, right here in the Bay Area.
You're talking about the third man that's here.
Right, who, me?
Yeah.
Why? Why me?
No.
How did this come down to me?
The car thing. I know. I mean, let's just to be serious about this. I mean, I live in an area here where it's kind of like a little bizarre world here in the Bay Area where we have, multi-million-dollar homes here, people driving $30,000+ cars. It's really,
Again, you're talking about Andrew?
Sure,
no, my car was $52,000, John. Don't insult me.
I'm sorry, $60,000 cars. Let's say that. And so I'm taking average, basically. I mean, I'm just saying it's an average. I mean, it's saying, but people buy more expensive cars. It's not a problem for them to get these things. These are tools for them, and they'll keep it for a few years, and then when it's time to get a new one, they'll get a new one. It's no big deal, So,
yeah, I mean, I totally understand. I understand that it's more expensive, and I understand that they have to have these models that are cheaper. And I'm not saying that they shouldn't necessarily have Retina displays. I just don't necessarily care for how much more they are over other models. I don't necessarily want to pay $1,700 when I don't feel that just because it's a Retina display that you should add $300 to the cost of that. I don't justify the cost for that kind of a feature.
Well, I think the other question is if it becomes an SSD versus non-SSD.
Yeah.
Maybe you're missing that part too, John, because of the fact that you're not only getting a Retina display, but also you're getting the SSD on there. And again, you're buying into just like the 15-inch one. You're buying into that sort of non-expandability. You're getting it now kind of thing. And Apple's known for charging extra for the, I mean, it's not only that, but also probably even, I bet you the base memory, even the RAM on there. It's because you can't upgrade the memory. It's something that's going to be the way it is, right? Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty much the model that they're going to. The Mac Minis are also probably going to get an upgrade, elimination of anything optical in that thing. It's probably going to be a solid state drive. You know what I'm surprised they don't do? Make smaller solid state drives in those Mac Minis.
I don't know if they really. I mean, do they really need to? Is there a problem with the Mac Minis being too big? Or they want to be like a size?
No, you could drop the price in them just to get people in them.
Oh, you mean physical size-wise versus actually you're talking the
I'm talking storage.
The storage is actually memory versus actual size, right? Physical storage,
We're going to see that also an upgraded iMac. Rumors are that it's getting a Retina display. I cannot see that happening. when they're charging you $400 premium for a 13-inch. I cannot imagine a Retina 27-inch. And they really don't need to go Retina on those big displays. So those are some of the rumors. We still don't know. There's been nothing announced. We're going to find out on Tuesday, on October 23rd. Brian will be doing coverage for Live Tech Keynotes, right? You're going to be doing it live.
Yes.
So you could, livetechkeynotes.com. What's the website?
It's going to be ustream.tv Live Tech. Was it Live Tech Keynotes? Gee, I should know what it is. Let me look it up and I'll get back to you in just a second.
Yeah. While Brian looks that up, there's also another huge announcement this week. Windows 8 is getting released. We're also getting the Surface RT.
Oh my goodness, that's like in 1 week.
I know, it's going to be a crazy week. I will probably be at the unveiling of this thing on Thursday. Ustream.com/ what is that, Brian? I can't see it.
LTK TV.
Okay, there you go. We'll have a link on our post. So next week is going to be a busy week because Thursday is the big launch. October 26th, we're going to get the Surface. We're going to get Windows 8. We're going to get a whole bunch of Windows 8 devices. But the big news is the Surface. We got the pricing announced early in the week, starting at $499, $599 with a touch cover. Pre-orders went on sale, I believe it was Wednesday morning or Tuesday. Was it Tuesday or Wednesday?
Tuesday.
It was Tuesday. I pre-ordered mine.
You did?
I did. And
which one did you get?
Nothing right now because there was a big problem. I bought a bunch of stuff on Amazon in the morning.
Yeah. Oh, no.
And the way Amazon billed me, because they were all coming from different suppliers, they billed me about 20 times per item.
No.
So it was like $10.99, $6.99, $5.99, $10.99.
What?
So my credit card company said, "Whoa, what's going on?" And they shut down my account. I guess they prevented any kind of thing to be processed. Well, when I did the pre-order, it said everything went through. I'm done. I pre-ordered. Turns out my credit card company declined it after it was approved. They said, "No, we got to cut this. This is probably a stolen card." They called me about 6 hours later and told me,
"Oops.
Hey, there's all this crazy activity from Amazon. You charge like $400 worth of stuff, but everything is individualized."
So that's Amazon. I'm surprised they didn't fulfill it all through.
Yeah, I found that bizarre too.
You know, when I dealt with Amazon before, when I've actually bought stuff from them,
I've never had this happen, by the way, with Amazon. I think what it was with, you know how Amazon has like their distribution and they have like subcontract companies?
Right.
Third parties.
Third parties?
Yes.
I think what I did for God knows for what reason it was like that, or maybe they're pushing the third parties a little bit more now, but everything that I ordered came from a third party.
Right.
And it got everything was itemized individually. I got about 30 boxes individually.
Yeah, it sounds like a nice letter off to Jeff Bezos.
I'm gonna call him personally, Brian. But the thing
yeah.
that screwed me up is that now my order didn't go through with the Surface because Amazon screwed up, and now I can't get it because guess what? There's a 2 to 3 week wait now for the device.
Right.
So my only thing is
just go into the store and tell them that your Andrew's there and from the GFQ network.
You know what I'm going to do? I'm probably going to grab Paul Thurrott on Thursday because he's going to be in town, and I'm just going to walk into a Microsoft store and be like, "Hey, do you got one for me? Look who I brought." I'll probably pick it up on Thursday from the store. I cannot imagine they're going to have crazy lines for this thing, but very surprising that they're sold out with pre-orders.
Well, they couldn't be doing that limited supply thing like Apple was doing with the iPhone.
No, these guys want to sell as much as they can.
Yeah, no. If anything, I think they're hedging their bets the other way. So I guess is that I think they're actually saying, well, we aren't sure exactly how many we're going to buy these, so we're not going to build that many on the front end, basically. So
I think they have faith in this device. This is the flagship device for them. They have to sell a lot of them. It's pretty affordable, $499, $599 with the touch cover. I actually ordered the more expensive cover, not the touch, but the actual keypad one.
There's a lot of people that were upset about that too because they offer two versions. They offer the type cover and they offer a touch cover, and I think it automatically comes with one. But then if you want it in like a different color, you still have to order it separate.
Yeah, you do.
So you have to buy two of them. You have to pay $100 extra for the one that comes with it, and then you have to spend another $100 to actually get the color that you want.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like 130 for the actual one with the letters.
Yeah.
I like it. Listen, I think it's going to be a cool device. I'm excited to play around with it. The other thing was that if you got the 64 gig one, you couldn't get the touch cover. You had to get the other one, the more expensive one.
Yeah.
You didn't have an option. So people were complaining about that. So I guess what they're doing is like, well, if you're getting the 64 one, it's the premium version. What do you make of this, John? Are you interested? I know you've been pretty critical of Windows 8, but you have said as a tablet, you're kind of for it.
I can see Windows 8 being more viable on a tablet or a smartphone. I just don't see it working very well on any sort of device that's not touchscreen capable. That's a non-touch device. As far as these tablets go, quite frankly, I almost wish that they would have added these touch covers in free of charge just initially to get the push out there, because I think that would have made a lot of sense for them to actually offer some sort of incentive for people to go on and start buying these things. And if you throw in a free touch cover with it, well, then wouldn't that be awesome? You get a free touch cover
on the initial
pre-order.
The first week or the first day of the device, you get a free touch cover.
Yeah.
Brings people in the stores.
Because I know that Microsoft really wants to push Windows 8 and these new Microsoft Surface tablets. And to me, if you are really that dedicated to pushing these things, then offer some sort of incentive, like a free touch cover.
Yeah, Brian, I mean, you've been pretty critical of it too, but as far as a tablet goes, you're not, I mean, you kind of get it. You kind of like the device as a tablet, right?
Right. So where I'm at on this stuff is real simple, basically. I think I'm really excited about where we're at now in the world of technology, because things like this are things that do spur innovation, right? You know, so instead of being a situation where it's just iPads only, we have iPads. We are having these Microsoft Surface devices. We're going to have, you know, the Kindle. We got this Nexus 7, and there's other things coming out. So it's exciting. The thing I'm critical about them, of course, being is a couple things. The advertisement they're doing is just showing the fact you click the thing on and off. Basically, it doesn't really tell about what the thing can do, and you know, and those kind of things. And I am concerned about the fact that Microsoft is trying to muddy the waters by trying to blur the lines between the RT version of Windows, which really should be their flagship thing, and the Windows 8 on the desktop, laptop, whatever.
Yeah, let me just say that's actually a huge problem that I see the consumer facing. I think this is going to be a nightmare for Microsoft in the coming weeks when people go into the store.
Exactly.
And they have no idea. They've totally blurred the line between RT and Windows 8 because they're totally separate things. And someone's going to go in, buy this thing, and be like, why can't I open up my exe files?
So I want to say it even gets worse than that, basically, Andrew. Okay.
Why can't I install a 10-year-old
iPad?
Why can't I install a 10-year-old version of Quicken?
I thought this was an iPad.
It gets worse than that, because we deal with these online stores where they aren't basically getting any very good descriptions on these. So you'll actually look at product lists of where the products are, and they may both show on the list because only getting 3 lines of data or something like that in there. They won't describe it because the people, when they put the database together, don't put it correctly there online correctly, or in the store is the same thing. And maybe on the little card underneath the thing, under the device, it may not display what it is either. Or maybe it's really be Windows 8 RT, Windows 8. And if you're going to go, what's this RT? They don't know. The user's not going to know. They're going to go buy this thing, and they're going to go, well, exactly like you said. They're going to want to install 10-year-old version of Quicken or something, and no, I can't only run Windows RT software.
I mean, this is going to be extremely confusing to people.
The one thing I did want to basically real quick say about this also is if you have a friend of mine who's a programmer who does say that because this does run kind of web-based technology, as far as the ARM RT stuff anyways, there is a lot of developers out there that actually can code for this thing. So there should be some apps starting to roll out for it. But I mean, it's going to be a lot of confusion ultimately. So
are they going to be selling these Surface tablets in stores other than Microsoft stores and online?
They said eventually the Surface tablets will be in other stores, but right now it's only in a Microsoft store and online.
See, and I also think that's a mistake.
Yeah.
Because you're going to have this initial press coverage of Windows, but the only place you can get them is from a Microsoft store or online. And because this is something that's so new and people don't really know what Windows 8 is, and to me, I would want to try this out first before I would even go and order something like this. But see,
I don't think that's them making a mistake. I think this was to keep the OEMs happy. You have to also remember that there are plenty of OEMs launching on the same day with Windows RT tablets. So in order to keep the OEMs happy, they said, okay, listen, we're going to put out our own device, but it's only going to be available in our store. So we don't step on your toes. So when you go to Best Buy, you're not going to, what would you rather have? Would you rather have a Toshiba? Or would you have what? Well, this is the Microsoft one.
But are you talking about like tablets versus actual laptops, or
I'm talking
tablets versus tablets?
Tablets versus tablets. Well, the same with the same thing goes with the laptops. I think this was to keep the OEMs happy.
I mean, from my personal experience, shopping for a tablet in the store has been really awful. Like, I'll go to my local Best Buy, and I think their selection is really awful. And a lot of times it's just a dummy device. It's not even an actual working device.
Yeah, and that's another thing too, Suncast, which is that, when you go in these stores, they don't even have internet set up. This is one thing the Apple stores are always good about, because every computer has internet access on it. You can actually try it out with your own stuff on it. When you go to a lot of these stores, Best Buy, whatever, they don't have that kind of stuff on there. Exactly like you say, it has a dummy device. They sell them almost like cell phone stores. You sell cell phones. Couldn't even try the darn thing out to see what it's like. I would also say definitively the fact that Microsoft's running into the same problem that Google's running into, which is saying that, okay, they're doing the Nexus branded devices that Google's got, which kind of compete against what Samsung and the other vendors are doing. So, they kind of have that same problem with the OEM / their own, private labeled stuff. That it's kind of, they can't do both. If you're going to be like Apple, you have to be like Apple and say, you know what, with Apple, there is no OEM model. They used to at one point with power computing stuff, whatever, but the point is they don't do that anymore. So they're very clear about it as being Apple. You're an Apple customer. Matter of fact, you're not even an AT&T customer. Practically, you're an Apple customer. They'll take care of you. You can't do that if you're dealing with OEM stuff, because exactly right. Andrew's right. You're going to run into a situation where you're going to step on the toes of the OEMs. And I know for a fact I've read tons of stories recently about OEMs being pissed because of this service thing's coming out, because the OEMs realize that people are moving to tablets. They're moving away from computers because tablets are just easier to use, and people want easy. They don't want complex. Yeah. Not everyone is a hacker that wants to go out and, like I said, kit bash their thing.
What I find fascinating is that on Best Buy's website, when they're showing you the Windows 8 products, there's no tablets that they're showing you. It's only laptops and PCs.
I mean, personally, shopping in person for a tablet is one of the worst experiences that I've had, because it's like, where do you go where you can actually try out all of the tablets, even the popular ones? I don't even know where I would go to try a Kindle Fire HD. I don't even know where I would go to try a Nook. I don't even know where I could go and try a Nexus 7.
Well, nowhere for the Nexus 7, right?
I don't think so, no.
Yeah.
But and to me, it's like, unless I try it myself, I'm not really interested.
Yeah. Some of the other issues that Microsoft will be facing this week is that even their closest allies are nervous about Windows 8.
Yes.
It's been coming out that, a lot of these OEM partners and a lot of these software partners that they have are they're staying optimistic, but yet they're pretty alarmed at the reception that Windows 8 has received from tech enthusiats. Let's call it that. I mean, the mainstream really doesn't know what the hell's going on right now, but the people who have used it and have disliked it, it's alarming to these companies.
Well, even when it was Intel was saying that they were concerned about it, where it's at right now. I would say, you look at people who have tried it out, who aren't tech enthusiast people, they're rearranging the furniture again. It's going to take people some time to get used to where things are and all that kind of stuff. Yes, people will adapt, because if they're part of their job, they'll figure it out. But I still think it's just Microsoft's going in the wrong direction, because I believe, honestly, from Microsoft's standpoint, and it's going to sound fun to say this, but I believe XP was their best business kind of class, kind of operating system they were doing, because you had your My Documents folder there. It was very simple to navigate to. I could instruct the users in a simplistic way to get there. They started extracting it with Vista and 7 with this library concept. Now you're putting layers on top of that to get access to your files.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you, I'm pretty excited about the Surface, but I'm not excited. I mean, I'm gonna install it. Obviously, I'm gonna install Windows 8 on my computers that are now production machines. But when Windows 7 came out, I was excited to put it on my production machine. I wanted it on this thing. I wanted it to run better. I don't have that same feeling with Windows 8, and I think a lot of people don't have that same feeling about Windows 8.
I might actually be kind of weird to say this, but there's one thing about Windows 8 that it does sound very exciting, is the ability to restore. I guess they have some sort of restore feature in there that the computer gets screwed up. The reset, exactly. And to me,
reset and refresh, I think is what it's called.
Yeah, thank you. Reset and refresh. Thank you, Suncast. The point is that, to me, that feature is going to be something that could end up being a big deal because users run into problems where they jam their devices up, not necessarily entirely on their own fault. Things just happen to their computers, and being able to get it reset it back to work to a fresh state at least lets you identify whether the problem is a hardware or software problem. If it's a software problem, okay, you know what's going on. If it's a hardware thing, you can say, okay, well, let's just swap it out, kind of thing. I think that to me is the part that could be exciting from my standpoint, from what I do, basically. But other than that, I mean, I am just dreading having to deal with customers going, where's my stuff? How do I go back and forth between this desktop thing? And including the fact that you'll have, this may end up having a touch version of Internet Explorer and a non-touch version of Internet Explorer. And it's going to be some confusion about how IE 10 works on Windows 8. So I don't know if you want to talk about that, Andrew, anyways.
With
what? That refresh and reset feature, it's one of those things that I have mixed feelings on, because I see it as a nifty feature, but at the same time, the problem that I have with it is that it only works with basically your documents, your actual Windows files. If you have a third-party program such as Adobe Photoshop, or you have Mozilla Thunderbird that you use for your email, that all gets wiped out because it doesn't back any of that up. You have to physically back that up still yourself. So I think people could get confused by that. The fact that with the verbiage that they have or the way they explain it, that it does this refresh, that it doesn't bother any of your applications, but they don't necessarily tell you that it's just Windows applications.
Yeah.
Right.
Google is holding an event as well in 10 days, October 29th. Google sent out press invitations the other day that includes a colorful New York City skyline, complete with the Brooklyn Bridge, and has the tag that says, "The playground is open." Scheduled for 10 a.m., the conference is going to be held in Basketball City in New York. I don't know where the hell that is.
Google does.
Where's Basketball City, New York?
Yeah,
let's go to Google Maps.
I've never heard of that.
Basketball City.
I've never heard of Basketball City. It seems like it's a gym.
It's on the FDR, apparently, that they're saying at Google here.
Yeah, it seems like it's a gym. So they're holding it in a gym.
Yeah.
I don't know what that's about.
Go to their website.
Yeah, no idea. I've never heard of that place. It's scheduled for October 29th, Basketball City at 10 a.m. Eastern. It's going to be held at the same day of Microsoft plans to launch Windows Phone 8.
Yeah.
They're saying that it's going to include news on Android 4.1, Jelly Bean updates, Google's new line of Nexus phones. In addition, the Playground reference is probably about the Play Store, and it's probably going to support a new redesign. We're also seeing currently with Google Now updates. I think this is going to really fall flat on its face.
Well, yeah, exactly. The problem is they're doing software, trying to have a software event like it's like the hardware event the way Apple does stuff, and it's not like you can't do that. You know what I mean? It's software, and you're not going to get that excited about what Google's doing per se, because they just roll it out there and people use it, but it's not where you're having to make a financial commitment to actually go out and buy something.
What are the chances that they'll actually talk about Google TV at this event?
Yeah, I was about to say the same thing.
A week ago, there was a video that Google actually posted by mistake about Google TV version 3.0 and then subsequently pulled down.
They pulled it immediately.
Yeah.
What about the Chromebooks and everything? And saw something about that just the other day.
Yeah, I mean, they'll probably talk about that. They announced that, but I think it's fascinating that Google pulled it. So the story is it's Google TV version 3, and it's going to support voice search. And it's going to have all the voice features that you have on your phone, which I find that pretty interesting if they actually could pull it off in a good way. I kind of like Google TV. I don't hate it. Some people hate it. I don't hate it at all. I think it's pretty good. I don't know. I have nothing else to say. The other thing is they're probably going to show the new Nexus line, and LG is getting it this year.
Right.
Which I'm not too crazy about. I'm not crazy about LG products. Life is not good for me.
I'm kind of surprised that they still didn't do anything with Motorola. From my understanding, then, what was the purpose of Google buying Motorola? Just for the patents, then? Because
they don't care.
It doesn't look like they're interested in whatsoever in terms of using it as a hardware maker.
No, there's no interest in it at all right now.
Which is why my point, Andrew, was saying about the Microsoft gets back to the tie-in with Microsoft, the OEM side of things. Google's doing the same thing with the OEM deals, so they can't step on the toes of the OEMs by if they were to make really bring in-house and make Motorola be their main brand and kind of like give Samsung kind of a second whatever, that would upset Samsung a lot, and they don't want to do that, so they got to let Samsung carry their water, and they can't really do too much with the Motorola brand right now at this point, And I agree with what I'm saying to you, but it is definitely more about the patents than anything else. So,
all right, why don't we do our picks of the week and wrap it up? Who wants to go first this week? Brian, you know what? You want to go first?
Yeah, I got
right.
my pick of the week. It is Tweetbot for the Mac OS X, the Mac App Store. It just got rolled out today, I believe, anyways. I just purchased it today, anyways. And it's pretty sweet. I really like it as a good Twitter client, including the news thing they're doing now is to do or reply to tweets. You actually see what was you're replying back to anyway. So it's a really sweet little client. It's nice, fast, and low resources and whatnot. So I can recommend Tweetbot for Mac OS X.
Very cool. John, what's your pick of the week?
All right, my pick of the week is a application for Windows 8. I believe it's called Pokey or Pokey Menu.
Oh, yes.
And I think this is kind of making the rounds this week on blogs. And it's a really interesting Windows 8 start menu replacement. But it's done quite differently than the other ones that you see out there, like ViStart and Start 8. This is actually a little bit more feature-packed than what you see with these other ones out there. And in a way, it kind of reminds me of a smartphone, the way that it's laid out. But it's pretty cool. It has a lot of features. It's obviously its own start menu replacement, so you get pretty much the same features that you would expect from a start menu type of thing, where it has the search. It'll show you your most recent documents, et cetera, et cetera. It'll show you your favorite apps and all that stuff. But it also does pretty cool stuff where it'll actually show you notifications right when you click on there. It'll show you your notifications from like applications such as Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. But it also has its own app store, which has apps like YouTube, Angry Birds, and Cut the Rope. It's kind of cool because you can use these smartphone-like applications on Windows 8 now. And these are all desktop versions, by the way. But it's pretty cool the way that this is laid out. It's very simple, very easy to navigate, very clean looking. To me, this is so much cleaner looking than the Metro interface that they have now. To me, it's a much better visual appeal. So to me, I wish Windows 8 was a little bit more like this because it actually looks really, 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 really good in my opinion. Like I said, it's got the notifications on there, the App Store, but it also has an application called Instagram, which is pretty cool, where it's an Instagram viewer. And it'll actually show you photos from Instagram from users. You can search your feed, popular, nearby. And it even has like its own Gmail app. So you never have to go to the browser for your Gmail. It's right there, and that connects right back with the notifications that it produces in the start menu, which is really cool. The way this is done, it's really cool. It's got a Facebook integration with it, which is really nice. You just click start and, Facebook is right there. There are a couple of issues with it. Let me see, because CNET said this earlier, that they said that they had a couple of problems with it. You can't start Metro apps from this yet. That is one of the things that you can't do, is that if there's a Metro application, it doesn't work with this new Pokemon menu. But to me, that's not really a big deal. And the boot to desktop option is a little bit slow. But then again, this is an application that's brand new. Somebody just did this. So obviously there's going to be a couple of bugs, especially since Windows 8 isn't even really officially launched yet. So, of course, over the next month or two, I assume that a lot of these bugs that people are experiencing with this will get a lot better. But I think it's at a place right now where, if you're looking for a start menu replacement that has a few more features than just being a start menu replacement, Pokey is a great application to do that with.
I think it's pretty cool. I want to try it on my Windows 8 machine.
Yeah, you can just go to Pokey. It's spelled POKKI.com.
And it's free.
If you want to look at it.
And it's a free application.
Yes.
Excellent. My pick this week is not a free application, actually, but it is something that I've discussed many times on the show. I have severe OCD when it comes to my MP3 collection. I like to have all the album art. I like to have all the images. I like to have all the right information. I want all the albums together. I want all the artists together. And, if you've been downloading MP3s for a couple of years, especially if you were from the Napster days, a lot of this stuff is mistagged. There's a lot of auto-tagging services out there. I've tried almost all of them, and none of them really do a great job at it. One of the major ones, I forgot what was the name of it, Monkey something. I forgot which one.
Monkey Wrench?
Monkey Wrench, I think that's what it was. It mislabeled a lot of my properly tagged songs and changed everything around, so it really screwed up my MP3 library. I discovered something this weekend. It's called TuneUp, and it works with iTunes. It works for the Mac and Windows, so if you're a Windows user, don't worry, you can get this on Windows. And the reason why I like it is because it's lightweight, and it does a great job. It actually works, unlike the other guys. So I'm going to show you a little example here of how well this thing works. So let me find... All right, so let's go to my window here. So this is the application. It's a very small application. You could either clean up the songs, you could analyze, you could even undo what you did. You could download the cover art. You could eliminate duplicate files. It also has this little thing, I'm not too crazy about this, where it shows you, you could watch a YouTube video of it, or you can find the lyrics. So if I go to cleanup, which that's what I want to do, I got a Bob Dylan song here. You just drag and drop it in there. Searches the database. And I believe the database it's using is iTunes. That's why you need to have iTunes installed and working while doing it. So while it searches, it's trying to find the song on iTunes to kind of match it up with. It has to have a secondary service. Oh, here it is. Look, done already. So it found it. Johnny Cash and Bob Dylan. Found the album. Yes, that's the one. And let me add that. And it'll change the album art. And it moved it and redid all the file names. So it's a little pricey. It's about $39.99, but it's well worth it. It really works. And that's what really matters with this thing, right? I mean, that it's going to work. I don't know. Are you like that too, Brian and John? Are you with the file names for the MP3s? I want everything organized.
Well, for me, I guess I let the iTunes system organize it from there and not get too anal about the MP3 tags and everything, because ID3, I would say ID3 tags, because I figure it usually kind of handles it through iTunes well enough. But I know if you get larger libraries, then definitely it's no question. Some of my customer base who have like 10,000, 20,000, 30,000 songs or something like that.
Yeah, I mean that's me.
Yeah.
I mean, I have about 9,000 songs. You could do 1,000 tracks at a time with this, and it'll take a little while. I mean, it should take a couple hours to do that many, because it has to go through it, has to scan it, then it has to find the actual album art and all the proper tags to it. So what I'm probably going to do with this, I'm going to retag everything, and then I'm going to get the iTunes Match service and link everything up and get the upgrade with that. That's why I've held off. So I just did 11 of them, and it found all of them. So all the Bob Dylan songs that I have are now tagged properly. So there we go. I just retagged them all. TuneUp is the software. I don't remember the website. Do you have the website by any chance, John?
I can Google it.
I'll tell you right now.
TuneUp.
I believe it's tuneupmedia.com. That's the website.
Yeah.
And definitely give it a shot. And they have a free trial, so you could test to see if you like it or not. But out of all the MP3 tagging softwares that I've used, and I've used a lot of them, this is single-handedly the best one, and it actually works. So give it a shot. tuneupmedia.com, and that's my pick of the week. Guys, thank you for joining me. Brian, quick plugs. LTK next week. You're going to be doing the
That's right.
The event. And where else can people find you?
Just on the Twitter, basically at Brian M. Monroe on Twitter. That'd be good to go there. So,
thanks a lot, Brian. I really appreciate you coming in. It was short notice, but it was good. And John, any plugs?
You can check out my music blog website. It's called Amadeus, AMADAIS.com, where I like to post videos that I find on YouTube of artists doing covers of popular songs out there that they're not necessarily mainstream, but they're really great singers. So if you want to check that out, you can go to Amadeus.com, AMADAIS.com.
Thanks a lot, John. And we'll see you all next week on Tech News Weekly. Good night, everybody.